comes that time of year where you just sit down at the end of 2020 and you think of, what were the 10 best wrestling matches of this year? Well, it is that time of year, and we are here today to talk about it here on the Big Fight Field channel. Thank you guys for joining me today in this video. This is Joseph Conlon here to talk about the top 10 wrestling matches of 2020. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say it already. I am not alone. I am here with in my opinion, one of my best friends in the community, one of the smartest wrestling fans in the community. His takes on almost everything are absolutely amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, my good friend, Sammy Khalaf. How are you doing today, Sammy?
What's up, brother? How you doing? Thanks for having me back on the channel.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's good to be here, man.
Absolutely. How are you making out during the holiday season?
Well, I got out of school Friday, so I'm on winter break right now, so I have all the time in the world to, watch wrestling and read books and stuff like that, so I've been pretty occupied considering we can't really do anything because of the current situation we're in.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I've been able to watch a ton of wrestling, so I'm here today to talk about some of my favorites that happened. And many people would expect that, we wouldn't be able to get a ton of good matches this year without crowds, but there were some, and the impossible was proven. And we just have about a lot of them, so we're here to talk about those today.
Yeah, absolutely. We got matches from WWE, NXT, AEW. I got a couple New Japan matches on here. And I'm sure you have different matches from different promotions as well, if I'm correct, right?
I have two matches from this company called Pro Wrestling Noah. You may or may not have watched it sometimes, but it's another promotion in Japan, and it should be talked about as much as New Japan is right now in the United States. But I have two of those matches on my list, and as soon as I mention those matches, I suggest that everybody at home checks out these matches. But it'll be worth it. But one is about 42 minutes long, and the other one's 51 minutes long. But it's very, very worth it, and this is what Pro Wrestling Noah is all about.
Yeah. So once we get to that match, I'm very curious to see how this match went. But let's start off with a couple honorable mentions. I got 4 matches on my list here. I'll name about 4, and then you can name your 4, and then we could talk about some of the matches from there. So a couple honorable mentions that I have: Pock versus Orange Cassidy from Revolution, Keith Lee versus Dominik Dijakovic from NXT TakeOver Portland, Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Chris Jericho from Wrestle Kingdom 14, and from NXT TakeOver 31, Kyle O'Reilly versus Finn Balor. So those are my honorable mentions.
For my honorable mentions, I have on this list Zack Sabre Jr. versus Will Ospreay from Revolution Pro Wrestling High Stakes. I have the Iron Man match between Kenny Omega and Pock from Dynamite, and I also have the parking lot brawl between Best Friends and Santana and Ortiz. So those are my honorable mentions.
Damn, you have Kenny Omega and Pac in the honorable mention?
Well, I couldn't. Well, there's a bunch of other matches that I had to include in the list. So this is all. Well, Pac and Kenny is definitely in my top 15 at least. But it was still a good match regardless. But I do think it's the best. Well, it's one of the best television matches we've seen this year, and it's probably the best Dynamite match we've ever had so far. But reason why I have it in my honorable mentions is because I had to include 4 historic matches that happened this year. So I just had to. Well, it's definitely up there. But I mean, don't take honorable mentions as a bad thing. But it's still a good thing. And I usually like to do them before number 1, so therefore they get that kind of honor and privilege to be on that list.
Yeah,
but,
I agree.
It's still a good thing though. That's why I have it in there, because I have a bunch of other matches that I had to put in.
Yeah, I was actually gonna have O'Reilly and Balor in my top 10, but I was thinking about it, and I was like, no, there's much better matches. I think not like this match was great and all, but I think there were a better match that deserved to be in my top 10. So, you ready to get started to talk about the top 10?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go. You want to name? You want to go first for number 10 since I went first for honorable mention?
Yeah, I'll run down my top 10, and I'll give my thoughts on every match since I have the list like in front of me right here. So at number 10, I have Goshi Ozaki versus Takashi Sugiura from Pro Wrestling Noah Chronicle: The Final Volume. Now, for many people who watch New Japan but not any other Japanese promotion, I highly suggest you check out this 51-minute brawl between Shiozaki and Sugiura, because no one knows how to properly structure their matches, especially this championship match. And this will introduce you to Goshi Ozaki, who has been in the Japanese pro wrestling game for quite a while. And this will also introduce you to Takashi Sugiura, who is a known veteran in many Japanese promotions. For new viewers, well, the match itself was great. And they did, the chops in this match were about, as I can say, it's up there with Walter and Ilya Dragunov, which I'll get into later. But the match was the definition of a championship match, just like how most matches are in New Japan. But this match was just phenomenal with all the striking and all the forearms and stuff like that, and it was pretty brutal to say the least. But that cracks my top 10 because I think of this match as a 5-star match. So
did this match get rated 5 stars or no?
Yeah, Dave gave it 5 stars.
Okay, so yeah, you got me intrigued now. So, watching the match, it probably had to be like a really hard hitting match, right?
Yeah, it's 51 minutes, but it's definitely worth it, and you'll love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking, you brought up Dave Meltzer. I want to mention him real quick. He's probably not watching this because he's got other things, but his mother recently passed away yesterday. His mother passed away at the age of 91, and he said that his mother only had a few weeks left, so that's just very sad to hear. So my thoughts and prayers go out to Dave Meltzer and his family for the passing of his mother. So I just wanted to get that out of the way real quick. So you want to continue?
Yeah, positive thoughts are with Dave Meltzer on his loss, and we hope for the best that comes out for Dave. So I'm sorry for his loss as well.
Absolutely. So do you want to continue your list, or you want me to talk about my number 10?
I'll continue on here with number 9. I have Goshi Ozaki versus Katsuhiko Nakajima. Now, the story behind this match, Shiozaki and Nakajima have been rivals for quite a while, ever since really the beginnings of Pro Wrestling Noah, and the two have been almost everywhere in Japan. And this is just another match to their legendary rivalry. So, the background, Nakajima won the annual N1 Victory Tournament to earn a championship match. Now, this took place at Pro Wrestling Noah's Chronicle Volume 3, I believe. So, this match lasted over 42 minutes, and it's another war that I recommend seeing. And once again, you will love striking and basically the forearms and the stuff they do, and there's nothing but positive things to say about this, and it's just as good as all their other matches were. And this is definitely a 5-star match in my book, and I could definitely say that these two should be talked about more in America because these two are legends. And for some background, if you haven't heard of Katsuhiko Nakajima, I recommend checking out his work in G1 Climax 26, where he wrestled Katsuyori Shibata, Michael Elgin, Kenny Omega, Tetsuya Naito, and many other big-time names in New Japan. He's very underrated and should be talked about more by fans. And the same goes for Goshi Ozaki as well. So definitely recommend checking out this match, and it'll be worth it by the time everything's over.
Now, go ahead.
Number 8, I have Will Ospreay versus Hiromu Takahashi from Wrestle Kingdom 14. Now, I can say that this is one of the greatest junior heavyweight matches in the history of Wrestle Kingdom. Well, basically in the Tokyo Dome itself. The match was, well, if you want to have a spot fest match, you have to at least sell, and that's what Takahashi and Ospreay did here. They sold the match very well, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Over 30 minutes of war, which ended up in Takahashi reclaiming the championship. because as you can tell, this was his third or fourth match back from injury, and he was able to take the belt from Ospreay here in a really hellacious match. And if you want to review the year, like, in order, I definitely recommend seeing this match, because this is definitely another 5-star match in my book. So,
it got rated 5 stars too, I believe, from Meltzer. It got rated
5.5 by Dave, which is, he went off the scale again. But thoroughly, I did enjoy this match.
Absolutely. So, number 7 on your list.
No, this is number 7, actually. Number 7, I have Tetsuya Naito versus Hiroshi Tanahashi from G1 Climax 30, Day 2. Now, Naito and Tanahashi have quite the rivalry here. If you want to look at some of the most underrated trilogies in professional wrestling history, I definitely recommend watching Naito and Tanahashi's 3 matches from 2017. The first match they had at Wrestle Kingdom 11, their second match from Dominion 6.19, I believe, and their final match from G1 Climax 27, the one where Naito wanted to go and face Kenny Omega, in which he would actually end up later winning. So, the match itself was no different like the other matches, and I could say that this is the best match of this year's G1, and I definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't already. Now, as for the G1 Climax itself, due to the lack of crowd reception, some of the matches have been quite stellar, up to New Japan standards. Like, we were still able to get some memorable matches out of the tournament, even at 33% capacity. So we had Ibushi, Suzuki, Okada, and Shingo Takagi. And we also have Ibushi and Sonata. Those are some great matches. But for Naito and Tanahashi, I definitely recommend watching it again, because it was just as great as the others.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, the G1 Climax usually happens around the summer. And I watched the G1 Climax 29, and I loved it. But this time, it was during the school year, and I didn't have enough time to go and watch it. So, I mean, it sucked for me. But I heard there was some great matches. But like what you just said there with Naito and Tanahashi, I mean, they got a lot of history together. So that might be...
If you want to actually binge watch some of the best G1 matches from this year, I also recommend some of the matches from Night 1. It was Ishii and Suzuki, which was a pretty hard-hitting match. I also recommend Okada and Ibushi if you want to go back and check out any of those. But in my opinion, Naito and Tanahashi was the best match of the tournament.
Absolutely. So, number 6 on your list.
Number 6, we have the Young Bucks versus FTR from Full Gear. Now, this match is what I call a tribute to tag team wrestling. Because if you remember watching this match live, you would have noticed that the Young Bucks and FTR paid tribute to many influential teams throughout tag team wrestling. They paid tribute to the Road Warriors, they paid tribute to the Hardys, the Dudleys, and many more teams. And the match itself was just a masterpiece. And it definitely had every single element it needed, but the only thing that was missing, in my opinion, was a full capacity crowd. But can you just imagine this in like a 10,000 seat arena?
It would have been much better. It would have been even better than it was originally.
Yeah, and I bet the crowd would have popped for pretty much every single tribute they did. And this match ended up in the Young Bucks winning the AEW World Tag Team titles. And I definitely look forward to the rematch down the road, but this time we need it at full capacity crowds.
Absolutely. What I love so much about the match was the storytelling, and I'll talk about it when I get to my matches, but at the ending, FTR, they're all about no flips, just fist. And Cash Wheeler, he did a flip to try to win the match, and he missed. And I love that a lot, that they went that route, and they didn't go with the no flips, just fists. So I really like that part. But we are halfway done on your list. You want to get to your 5th favorite match of the year.
Yeah. Number 5, if you want to count this as a match, I guess you can since it was cinematic, but number 5 is the Boneyard match. Now, before WrestleMania, I had very low expectations for this match because nobody knew how it was going to be. But at WrestleMania 36, this ended up being a complete masterpiece in my opinion. So, The Undertaker and AJ Styles went out there and basically did everything, and I loved everything, including the guards, I guess that's what they're called, and I also liked how they came out of the shed, and I liked how they battled on the roof, and Undertaker chokeslams AJ off the roof and through some sort of table of some sorts, and I also loved how the AJ tried to bury the Undertaker, and the Undertaker just pops up out of nowhere, and that's a meme. It definitely had meme potential, and definitely became a meme. So then it resulted in AJ Styles being buried, and I also love the symbol at the end where he just stuck his hand out of the dirt.
Yes.
And I love that so much because it just resembles that AJ has been, well, it definitely has, it won't be taken out of context here, but buried. But I'm not saying he's actually buried as a wrestler, but he was literally buried in this match. And in my opinion, this was definitely the best way for the Undertaker to go out as an in-ring performer because he did all that stuff in the end where the shed lit up with his symbol and he rode away in his motorcycle. But this was definitely a great match, and it's definitely worth watching again.
Absolutely. I didn't have any cinematic matches on my list, but I would absolutely say that this was the best cinematic match of the year. And for all those people that wanted the Undertaker to come back and wrestle one more time around Survivor Series, this was the perfect way, 100% the perfect way for him to go out and retire because this was the perfect match for him. AJ was a perfect last opponent for him, and he didn't have to, like, a one-on-one. Originally, it was supposed to be just a singles match. I don't think that would have been good. This was the best case scenario for The Undertaker to do something like this, and it turned out to be the best cinematic match of the year, in my opinion. So, your number 4 favorite list for 2020, Mr. Khalaf.
Number 4, I have Walter versus Ilya Dragunov from NXT UK TV. Now, this match was one of the best matches from a weekly show we've seen this year. For NXT UK, I could say that it's definitely an underrated brand, and it has quite a few gems. And Walter versus Ilya Dragunov proved that. Now, with no crowd, it was definitely easier to hear the chops and all the strikes and stuff like that. It's kind of like a New Japan match where it's strong style. But I could definitely say that this is probably the best Walter versus Ilya Dragunov match ever. If you haven't seen their matches from Progress or WXW Germany, I recommend checking those out as well because those are also 5-star matches just like NXT UK. Now, for a couple of moments throughout the match, I thought Ilya was going to take the title, but unfortunately he couldn't, and they told quite the story with this one. And Walter solidified himself as the best big man in wrestling today. But it was just definitely a classic title match, and it was definitely brutal.
Absolutely. So I'll get this later down on my list because this actually is on my list. But finally, your top 3 favorite matches, the big 3, starting at number 3 for you.
Number 3, I have Hangman Page and Kenny Omega versus the Young Bucks from AEW Revolution. Now, Revolution was one of the best pay-per-views AEW has ever had, and this was the best match of the night. Now, the build-up to this match was it was very subtle and very, very great because with the Elite teasing Dissension, it was just all perfect, and the teases with Hangman turning heel, that was also great, especially after the match, in which you thought he was going to turn heel, but he didn't. But the match itself was fantastic, and I could definitely say that this was the best tag team match we've seen this year. and AEW wanted to make tag team wrestling a big priority in AEW, and we saw just that with this match.
That was this. Go ahead.
The Young Bucks, this is probably one of the Young Bucks' best matches I've ever seen. Same with their match with FTR, because for the people who say that the Young Bucks can't sell or tell good stories, this match will definitely prove you wrong, because they did their best here, and they proved everyone wrong by saying why we are one of the best tag teams in the world. And Hangman Page and Kenny Omega had quite an interesting reign as tag team champions. But this match was definitely fantastic, and nothing but good things to say.
Was this the greatest tag team match you've ever seen, or you've seen better?
It's not the greatest tag team match I've ever seen, but it would definitely be in the top 10 I've ever seen, and quite frankly, it might be in the top 10 best tag team matches ever. But you could still put at number one, you could definitely put Misawa and Kobashi versus Kawada and Taiyui from 1995 up there. You could put Mysterio and Edge versus Angle and Benoit up there. But Hangman Page and Kenny Omega versus the Young Bucks is definitely in the top 10, in my opinion.
Absolutely, man. So, number 2 on your list.
Number 2 is Kazuchika Okada versus Koda Ibushi from Wrestle Kingdom 14. Now, the backstory was very interesting, because with New Japan pushing Ibushi as the next ace of New Japan, we all thought he was going to be walking out as a champion up until they decided to do the double title thing and the Gold Rush, which also had Jay White and Tetsuya Naito in the mix. Now, Ibushi and Okada went back and forth with all the storytelling in this match, and it was definitely brutal as well. Definitely one of the best Ibushi matches ever, and it's definitely one of the best Wrestle Kingdom matches ever. And for a few spots in the match, I thought Ibushi was walking out as the champion, but unfortunately, Okada was able to retain the belt here, and this was definitely a classic bout, and it makes my list as the number 2 best match I've seen all year. And it was just fascinating, and it was definitely like something you would expect from a New Japan match, and this is definitely what New Japan is all about.
So this is your number 2 list. I'm guessing, I don't want to spoil it, but I'm guessing your number 1 on your list is going to be Okada and Naito from Night 2.
That's right. Number 1 is Okada versus Naito from Wrestle Kingdom 14. Well, this was on Night 2. Now, this match was the conclusion to the Gold Rush. This was for both the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental titles. Now, this is something you would expect from a Tokyo Dome main event. And this was definitely the best Naito and Okada match I've ever seen. But if you want to look at their match from the 40th anniversary show, Invasion Attack 2016, Dominion 2016, or Wrestle Kingdom 12, those are good matches too. But in my opinion, Wrestle Kingdom 14 is the best Okada and Naito match ever, and it makes number 1. This match makes my list as the number 1 match I've seen this year. Well, the best match I've seen this year. And the background story, 7 hard years for Tetsuya Naito working his way to the top of New Japan. And that story concluded with this match. And he is still, he dropped the Evil for a little bit, but he's still the double champion. And he will be defending both belts on the 2 nights of Wrestle Kingdom 15 this year against Ibushi but we don't know if he'll go on to defend it against Jay White, so I'm pretty excited for that. And the one thing I wish the titles, I hope the championships are going to be split apart after Wrestle Kingdom, and that's definitely I think it might happen, but I hope it does soon, because it should have lasted for a short time.
Yeah, Naito and Ibushi matches are always amazing to me. I look back at that Madison Square Garden match they had. I believe it was WrestleMania weekend. That match was absolutely incredible. So I'm looking forward to another Okada, another Naito and Ibushi match. But ladies and gentlemen, that is Sammy Khalaf's top 10 matches of the year. I'm going to get to mine right now. If you want to, if you want to make comments on the matches I say, you're very more welcome to, just like I did to you. But for number 10, I'm going to get started on my list. Number 10 came from the early January. It was the men's Royal Rumble match, which was won by Drew McIntyre. I thought I wasn't a fan of it at first, with Brock Lesnar just absolutely treating everybody like jobbers, tossing them out. But then we got the whole Keith Lee moment, and Keith Lee stared down Brock Lesnar, which is a dream match to a lot of people's eyes. And then Drew McIntyre came in at number 16. He eliminated Brock Lesnar with a low blow by Ricochet into a Claymore kick, and he had the Houston crowd going bananas for that. And then the match led to the return of the Rated R superstar Edge at number 22, which was probably one of the best returns of the year so far. Edge did not go on to win the Royal Rumble. He got eliminated by Roman Reigns, but Drew McIntyre went on to win the Royal Rumble. Claymore kicked Roman Reigns out of the ring, and he set up a WrestleMania match with Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship.
You know what? I'm going to have to add the men's Royal Rumble match onto my honorable mentions because I somehow forgot about that match, but it's definitely one of the best. And I can definitely say that Edge returning is the best return I've ever seen in wrestling. And I say that because we've waited 9 years and we never thought he would wrestle again, but he did in fact come back in the Royal Rumble match, which is the best return I've ever seen.
Absolutely. There's a lot of good returns, man, but this return had a lot of people emotional as well. Like I see people in the IWC making videos of themselves reacting to when Edge returned, and they were getting pretty emotional. But that's number 10. Number 9, you might get a little bit angry at this, but my number 9 is your number 1. Okada and Tetsuya Naito. It was a classic match. It was a great match to end the Tokyo Dome, but I liked the Ibushi Okada match much better than this match. I thought that match told a much better story than this match, but this was a damn great match to a great overall Wrestle Kingdom, which was one of the best shows of the year in my opinion. And it started Naito's journey as the double champion and finally getting to beat Okada and become the World Heavyweight Champion, the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. So that's number 9 on my list. Number 8 comes from NXT UK with the United Kingdom Championship match between Ilya Dragunov and Walter. One of the most hard-hitting matches I've seen all year. My God, man, these guys absolutely killed each other for 25 minutes. You can see Dragunov's chest after the match. It's all scratched up and red and bruised. It was just a complete mess for Dragunov. But the match was so hard-hitting. Dragunov had a great underdog story. I thought he was going to be the one to defeat Walter, but Walter defeated him at the end. But I'm believing that if this match happened in front of a live audience and possibly on a UK takeover, that Dragunov was going to get his big moment and defeat Walter for the UK Championship. But Walter defeated Dragunov, and this was absolutely fantastic. Now, number 7 on my list is the only stipulation match I have on here. One of the 2 stipulation matches I have here. And that comes from this year's Clash of Champions pay-per-view between AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, and Sami Zayn in a ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. And one of the things that made me put this match on the list was, I thought it was one of the best opening matches to a pay-per-view all year. You can make the argument of Hangman Page and Kenny Omega which was an unbelievable match. You can make the argument to let me think of a few. You can make the argument to Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic from the Takeover Portland show. You can make an argument for, I believe, Damian Priest and Finn Balor at Takeover in Your House. But this match was it was amazing. And Sami Zayn's genius mind with ear clipping Jeff Hardy to the ladder and handcuffing AJ Styles to the ladder and grabbing both championships was absolutely an amazing moment. And he became the Intercontinental Championship. Do you got anything to say on this match?
This match is definitely underrated, in my opinion, and it's one of the best ladder matches I've seen this year. And I definitely enjoyed it because, well, Sami Zayn, of course, as a heel, he's going to do some funny stuff. And, Jeff Hardy's always going to be Jeff Hardy, and AJ Styles is going to be AJ Styles. But it was definitely a really good match and one of the best opening matches this year.
Absolutely. So, moving on to that, we got number 6 on my list. That is Kenny Omega versus Pock from Dynamite, the go-home show before Revolution. This was the best Dynamite match I have ever seen so far, in my opinion. Absolutely great stuff for 30 minutes. They ended up going over 30 minutes to sudden death. Kenny won that match with a one-winged angel. But this was a great performance. You get Pac and Omega in the same ring for 30 minutes. You're going to get a classic, and it was an absolute classic to open up that Dynamite. And one of the Dynamite matches that I will remember for a very long time. So then we get to my final 5 matches. My top 5 matches of this year. And starting off at number 5, we're going to have a Wrestle Kingdom 14 match between Hiromu Takahashi and Will Ospreay. Now, like Sammy said earlier, you can be a fan of the monkey spot, or you don't like it and you want to just criticize the match, whatever. But these guys sold their asses off. These guys worked their asses off for this match. And the one spot, wasn't it like they were on the outside? Ospreay landed on his feet for a superplex.
It was the when Takahashi was outside the ring, and then Ospreay tried the Sasuke special, and then Hiromu tried his German suplex him outside the ring, but Ospreay landed on his feet. Then he ran all the way from the stage and tried to, do something to Takahashi, but Takahashi just threw him back in the ring, and then Ospreay hit the Sasuke special.
Yes, that was an amazing spot, and I was like, I couldn't believe my eyes when Will Ospreay did that. He ended up going on to win the Junior Heavyweight Championship. Oh, wait, no. Never mind. Hiromu went on to win the Junior Heavyweight Championship. I almost messed up there.
Yeah.
But, yes, Hiromu Takahashi became the Junior Heavyweight Champion. And then at number 4, I do have Ibushi versus Kazuchika Okada. The main event from night 1 of the G1 Climax. I thought that they told an absolutely amazing story with this match. And one of the things that made it so good, a lot of people wanted Naito to win the double championship, which is all good with me, but I really wanted Ibushi to win this World Heavyweight Championship. He's got a great chance at it this year against Naito on night 1, but I thought last year was his moment. He didn't capitalize, he didn't win. But they told an absolute amazing story. The match was great. The Tokyo Dome was really loud, and it turned out to be just an unbelievable 5 5.5 3/4 star match, I think.
It was 5 3/4. I think Dave Meltzer gave it.
Yeah, so that match was just unbelievable. And now we get to my 3rd favorite match of the year. Not a lot of people bring up this match, and I'm kind of shocked by it. In my opinion, it's the greatest NXT Championship match of all time. From NXT TakeOver, not the greatest NXT Championship match of all time, but one of them. The greatest is still Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano. But one of the greatest in my opinion. Tommaso Ciampa going up against Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. They told an amazing story about Ciampa and him getting his Goldie back from Adam Cole, and the ending, the unexpected ending, with Johnny Gargano coming in and smashing Tommaso Ciampa over the head with the NXT Championship, which led to Cole retaining the championship to continue his unbelievable reign. And I thought this match was absolutely amazing for 40 minutes. If you guys don't remember this match, I would suggest you go rewatch it when you get a chance to, because this match was incredible in my opinion. Do you have anything to say on this match between Ciampa and Cole?
Now, with TakeOver Portland being the last TakeOver with a full capacity crowd, I thought before this match that Ciampa was going to get the championship back, but I was proven wrong when Cole won, and I was kind of shocked there. But it led to more stuff between Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa down the line.
Absolutely. So, absolutely a great match between those two. And then my final two, both Young Bucks matches. So I got number 2, Young Bucks versus FTR. Like Sammy said earlier, they did a great tribute to all the past tag teams, basically thanking them, like the Dudley Boys, the Hardy Boys, Steiner Brothers, Hart Foundation, and a whole lot of tag teams. They told an amazing story. The in-ring action was great. The only thing not good about this was I thought the build was a little bit underwhelming. It wasn't what we wanted it to be, but if we get this feud again for the tag team championships, I hope what Sammy said comes true, and they fight at a large capacity with a proper story heading into the match, and it's a main event of a pay-per-view for the tag team championships. And then number 1 on my list is one of my favorite tag team matches of all time, up with the Revival when FTR were the Revival in NXT against Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. It is the Young Bucks versus Kenny Omega and Adam Hangman Page. Near fall after near fall after near fall, kick out after kick out. It was absolutely insane. One of the best spots in that match was when the Bucks gave Kenny, I believe, the BTE trigger, and Kenny Omega kicked out at 1, and he started slapping the mat and getting the crowd excited. That was an amazing moment right there, and Omega and Page rallied back. We had heat between Hangman Page and Matt Jackson, who absolutely hated each other, and the match ended with Hangman giving Matt Jackson the buckshot lariat for him and Omega to retain the tag team championships. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are our top 10 best matches of 2020. Do you got anything to say before we get out of here?
Now, with 2020 being the most difficult year ever, wrestling has always been there for us, and they've given us some pretty good matches this year, even though they weren't with crowds. But it was still some of these matches were still enjoyable, and wrestling is, a lot of people use wrestling as an escape from reality, and you have all these matches here, and even though with the current circumstances, they still managed to give us a lot of these gems.
Absolutely. So, I'm going to wrap it up here today. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you have not already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're only a couple subs away till 300, so make sure you hit the subscribe button. Comment down below, what are your top 10 favorite matches of the year? I would like to know what your favorite matches are down below. Hit that like button if you like what me and Sammy had to say in this video. Follow me on Twitter, @Conlon_Joseph. Sammy, where can they follow you on Twitter?
You can follow me on Twitter at, my username is Samster203, so if you search that up, it'll come right up.
Absolutely. So go follow him on Twitter. And Sammy, I want to thank you so much for coming up on the channel today, and I hope you have a great holiday, man.
All right, man.
All right, guys, I will see you later.